From street vendor to CEO, the morning sun had barely risen when the streets of Lakeside City began to fill with life. Motorcycles roared past buses. Vendors pushed carts filled with fruit. Workers hurried toward offices, factories, and construction sites. Among the many vendors setting up for the day was a young man named Daniel Mwengi. Daniel stood beside a small wooden cart near the busy bus station. On the cart were neatly arranged bananas, roasted peanuts, and bottled water. It wasn't much, but it was everything he had. Daniel was only 19 years old, yet life had already forced him to grow up faster than most people his age. Every morning, before sunrise, he pushed his cart from the tiny room he rented on the outskirts of the city. By 6 a.m., he was already selling snacks to commuters rushing to work. Most people passed him without noticing. To them, he was just another street vendor, trying to survive. But Daniel carried a dream inside him that few people could see. He wanted something bigger. Much bigger. A difficult beginning. Daniel had not always lived in the city. He grew up in a small rural village where his parents struggled to make a living farming a small piece of land. Life there was simple, but difficult. When Daniel was 16, tragedy struck the family. His father fell seriously ill and could no longer work. Suddenly, the responsibility of helping the family fell on Daniel's shoulders. With limited opportunities in the village, Daniel made a painful decision. He left home and traveled to the city to find work. The first months were brutal. He slept in crowded hostels. Some nights he had no food. Other nights he walked the streets looking for any job he could find. But Daniel had one advantage. He was observant, very observant. He watched how people worked, how businesses operated, how customers behaved. Slowly, he realized something important. Even the smallest business could grow if it was managed well. That idea stayed in his mind. The first business one evening, Daniel used the little money he had saved to buy a box of bananas and a small bag of peanuts. The next morning, he borrowed a wooden cart from a friend and began selling near the bus station. The first day, he made only a few dollars. But Daniel didn't feel discouraged. Instead, he asked himself one question every night. How can I do better tomorrow? He began waking up earlier than other vendors. He cleaned his cart carefully. He treated customers with kindness and respect. Soon, commuters began recognizing him. Buy from Daniel, some would say. He's honest. Little by little, his sales increased. Within a year, he had saved enough money to buy 2 carts instead of 1. He hired a young boy from his neighborhood to help sell snacks at the second location. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt something new. Progress. The turning point one afternoon, something unexpected happened. A woman named Mrs. Eleanor Brooks stopped by Daniel's cart. She was a business consultant visiting the city for a conference. While waiting for a taxi, she watched Daniel work. She noticed something unusual. Despite selling simple snacks, Daniel treated his small cart like a professional business. He tracked his sales in a notebook. He counted inventory carefully, and he greeted every customer with the same warm smile. Curious, Mrs. Brooks started a conversation. How long have you been running this business? She asked. About 3 years, Daniel replied. And what's your goal? She asked. Daniel didn't hesitate. One day, I want to build a company. Mrs. Brooks smiled. A company selling bananas. Daniel laughed. No, he said. A company that solves problems. The answer surprised her. Before leaving, she gave Daniel her business card. If you're serious about building a company, she said, call me. Learning the hard way over the next year, Daniel stayed in contact with Mrs. Brooks. She began mentoring him remotely. She taught him basic business principles: budgeting, marketing, customer service. Daniel studied everything she taught him, but the biggest lesson came when Daniel noticed a problem in the city. Street vendors like him often lost money because they had no reliable suppliers. Prices changed constantly. Quality was unpredictable. Daniel saw an opportunity. What if he created a distribution service that supplied vendors with affordable, reliable products? He started small. Using his savings, he purchased snacks in bulk from wholesalers. Then he delivered them to other street vendors at fair prices. At first, only a few vendors joined, but soon word spread. Within 2 years, Daniel's distribution network had grown across multiple neighborhoods. He hired drivers, rented a warehouse, and slowly transformed a small operation into a real company. From vendor to CEO 10 years later, Daniel stood inside a modern office building overlooking Lakeside City, the same city where he once pushed a small cart through crowded streets. But things were very different now. Daniel Mwengi was now the CEO of Fresh Fruit Distributors, a company supplying thousands of street vendors across the region. His company employed over 200 people, and every morning, trucks loaded with goods left the warehouse to deliver supplies across the city. Yet Daniel never forgot where he started. One day he visited the old bus station where he once sold bananas. The streets were still crowded. Vendors still worked hard under the rising sun. A young vendor stood beside a wooden cart, trying to attract customers. Daniel walked over and bought a bottle of water. "Business slow?" Daniel asked. The young vendor sighed. "Sometimes," he said. Daniel smiled. "Keep going." Then he handed the young man a business card. "Call this number tomorrow," he said. "Maybe I can help you grow." The lesson: success rarely begins with big opportunities. It usually begins with small efforts repeated every day. A small cart, a small idea, a small step forward. And for Daniel, the journey from street vendor to CEO wasn't about luck. It was about persistence, hard work, and the belief that where you start does not decide where you finish.